Hello, friends. I'm Lindsey. This is a chair yoga practice for loving kindness, heart centered practice. This is Love Month that we are coming into, as well as Black History Month. And I wanted to also take into consideration so much of the pain that we are seeing around us, pain and suffering from so many individuals. Folks, it's not a cliche. We need to lead with more love. We need to lead with more compassion. And this practice is designed just for that. So grab yourself something cozy, grab yourself a chair, and I will see you in there. So welcome. My name is Lindsey, and this is our chair yoga stretch and unwind program for today, for this Monday. So I'm going to invite you to get nice and comfortable in the chair that you are in. Ideally, we could be in a bit of more of a hardback chair, so either a wheelchair or a kind of a dining room chair. But if you are in a more comfortable recliner for today, if you just need a little bit sort of more of a laid back, comfortable experience for today, that works well. And I'll give you some options for those types of chairs too today. Beautiful. So let's get ourselves nice and comfortable and grounded to start things off. So we ground ourselves by just taking a little bit of side to side movement. That's what I'm looking for. So just a little bit of side to side movement, a bit of a sway, a bit of a rock side to side. And we're doing this just to bring our attention, our awareness into our body a little bit, because this brings us just gently off balance. So we need to be a little bit aware of the proprioception, our body in space, but also of interoception, just how we feel inside of our body as we become a little off balance like this. So a simple movement that's just bringing us into our body a little bit. So when you're ready, you can go ahead and find some stillness and let yourself sort of settle at center. And then I'm going to ask you to check in with your feet. So just taking a look down, maybe even at the feet, just checking that sometimes our feet tend to kind of be pushed under us a little bit, or maybe forward a little bit. Can we see if we can just try to bring the feet and the ankles beneath the knees so that we have a nice even alignment here in the low body? And then let's go ahead and bring our attention all the way down into our feet, specifically into the arches of our feet today. So you might wiggle your toes for a moment here. Just a little wiggle of your toes, and then see if in this wiggle and spreading and stretching of the toes, you can sense the inner arches of your feet. So when we spread the toes, we sort of activate through that inner arch, but we have another arch as well that runs across the base of our foot from left to right, just at the base of the toes, the toe joints. So we're going to connect to that transverse arch in our feet as well today. And then let's see if we can place the toes down onto the floor, onto the mat, even if you're wearing shoes, onto your shoe bed. And notice if as you did that, lifting and then placing the toes, you could bring a little bit more evenness across the toes. So you feel that the weight is distributed a little bit more evenly. And then notice, does that sensation in the feet feel the same as your regular or typical way of sitting or standing or holding your foot position? So just noticing that in that intentional way of bringing our toes evenly down onto the mat, that might change the way we hold our body a little bit. So for me, it makes me notice that I tend to roll out to the outer edges of my feet. And so by bringing a little bit more of that attention to the inner edges, my knees draw in. I draw in a little bit through my inner thighs. Good. Let's take a breath here. And then maybe start with a nice ha sound. That's our heart breath, connecting to our heart space. Let's do that a few more times. Big breath in. Exhale, ha, down to the heart. Good. And then one or two more. Ha, down right into that heart space. Of course, we're into the month of February, the month of love, of Valentine's Day. It's also Black History Month. And also, there's a lot going on in the world around us. And so I just want to invite a little bit more of that loving kindness into our practice today for ourselves, but also for the world around us, for other people. We are nothing without each other. And so we're going to bring a little bit of that element into our practice today. So can we deepen our breath a little bit now? Maybe we'll place a hand over the heart. Another hand can come to the belly. And we'll start to notice that nice, big, expansive breath. So we breathe in, we feel the ribs widening from side to side, from front to back. And as we exhale, noticing a gathering in sensation. Good. Everything gathering in through the ribs. Good. Keep breathing, expanding left to right, front to back, noticing even that the low hand kind of covers the diaphragm. Notice the diaphragm dropping down into the belly. Good. And then drawing back in, gathering energy back in at heart center. Good. A couple more. This is our diaphragmatic breath. Big, three-dimensional, full body breath. Expansiveness on the inhale and gathering energy on the exhale. And we're going to bring that energy into this practice today as well. So expansive breath, opening, lifting, widening. Exhale, gathering, contracting, drawing in. Good. And then let's release the hands to our knees. Give your shoulders a nice big roll. Beautiful. And then let's maybe roll a little bit forward and backwards along the soles of the feet. Just feeling a little bit of that connection again, a little bit of pressure along the soles of the feet. If you have a tennis ball at home, either now or later, this is a lovely practice to do with a tennis ball, just rolling one foot and then the other along the soles of the feet, just to bring a little bit of stimulation and energy to the bottoms of the feet. Good. Now let's press down through the feet, noticing that as we root down or press down, there's a natural lift that works in opposition to that rooting down energy. So lifting through the crown. Good. We might even press the tongue up into the roof of our mouth just to find a little bit more of that lifting energy through the front line. Find your breath. Beautiful work. Beautiful, fantastic. And then coming back into our center, we're going to find a little bit of tapping here to wake up that fascia, those connective tissues. We're going to start by just tapping. Sorry, I started with my arms, but we could start with our arms today if we like. So it's just a little soft hand, maybe a little bit of a chopping motion along the arm. We can start by moving up the wrists, up the arms towards the shoulders. If we want to work a little bit more with our lymphatic system, we might lift the arm a little bit and do a little bit more brushing up towards the shoulder and the heart. So whatever feels good for you here, it's just a sort of gentle touch, a bit of therapeutic touch for yourself. Starting to, as I said, awaken and hydrate the fascia. This is also a wonderful way to break up any adhesions that you might have. So if you've got a bit of a sore spot in the shoulder, you can come and just gently tap over that soreness to try to break up some of that stuck fascia or stuck energy. We'll switch whenever you're ready to the other arm. Good. And then you can move tapping or brushing up towards the shoulder, towards the heart. Lovely, everyone. And when you feel done with that side, we'll come to the legs a little bit. So I kind of like to make a bit more of a softer fist on the legs. I just find they need a little bit more pressure, but that's me. So you can do the same Or you might just stick with that sort of chopping motion, or even that brushing, sweeping motion. Just do whatever feels good. You can bring the hands to the outsides of your glutes, to your hips a little bit. You can stick with the tops of the thighs, maybe just avoiding the bony parts of your knee. We might feel like we want to even bend forward a little bit, come off of our chair already, and just move down the sides of the legs a little bit, insides as well. Might feel nice. Moving here with your own intuition, with your own instinct. So what feels good for you here? And moving to those areas. And then finally, we'll just bring a little bit of little tapping, fingertips sort of coming to the front of our chest, our heart space. And we might even bring that sweeping energy towards the heart. So today, working on just bringing and energizing that heart space, bringing a little bit more of that loving kindness energy in towards our heart as well. Good. So a little bit of brushing or tapping. I'm trying to avoid my microphone here. Lovely. And when you feel good and done, you can just let the hands come to rest at your sides, palms up or down, and take a nice full diaphragmatic breath in and out. And just notice how you feel in your body. Notice how you are arriving here today. If anything has already shifted with that little tapping exercise. Very nicely done. Wonderful. Let's bring our fingertips together. So we've done this the last couple of sessions, our Hakini Mudra. So tips of our fingers are touching and creating a little tent shape with our hands. So there's lots of space and spaciousness in the center of our hands. And from here, we're going to inhale, lifting the arms up as high as feels comfortable, maintaining a lot of softness. So soft elbows, soft shoulders. Good. And then we can lower down. Can we move with our breath and notice how that feels in the body? Inhaling to lift, thinking about lifting and reaching up through the crown and rooting down through the sit bones and the feet as we move through this Hakini Mudra flow. One more breath in, rooting down and lifting up. Good. And then exhale, lowering fingertips down. Beautiful. Releasing Hakini Mudra, hands to our knees. We're going to come into a little bit more of a psoas muscle stretch. So that muscle that's running across the front of the body, wrapping around the hips, connecting into the low back. So we might come forward for this. I'm going to give you a couple of options, just depending on what feels most comfortable in your foot and your leg. We'll start with the right foot. We're going to just slide that right foot underneath our chair. Now, I kind of need to shift a little to the side to get the toes back behind and underneath the chair. And you can do the same. And we're trying to rest, if I can turn my chair just to show you, on the top of our foot. So when I tuck my foot under, I'm resting on the top of my foot rather than up on my tiptoes. So in this position, we can kind of let a little bit more heaviness come into the body. Now, if this does not feel comfortable for you, you can keep your leg out and we'll just straighten the leg out in front of us instead. So both will work. One is just a little bit of a different sensation. So I'm going to keep my foot tucked just for showing you today. And then from here, let's bring our arms up into cactus arms. Good. So cactus arms here, thinking about rooting down through the sit bones. Good. Wide across the back, the low back and the belly. But let's draw in the low ribs with a breath. So we're drawing into the low ribs. And then we'll lift through the arms. Good. Now from here, we'll do a little lateral flexion. So holding onto our right wrist, just gently pulling over to the left side. So we can hold here. We can hang our arm heavily on our head if we prefer. But whatever we're doing, can we draw in a little bit more through the belly so we can find a little bit more effortless ease. Softening now and feeling that stretch across the front muscle, the psoas muscle. Big breath in and then big breath out. We're going to release the arms and just find a little bit of a shoulder blade roll in your cactus arms. Good. Is the music too loud? It got louder for me, but it's okay. Thanks, Melissa. Good. Thank you for the feedback. Beautiful. So shoulder blades are rolling and touching perhaps or moving towards each other at the back of our body. Nice big openness across the chest, releasing the hands, untucking the leg. If it was tucked, we might straighten it a little bit, and everybody can find a little windshield wipering movement through the toes. Keeping the toes pointing forward, but also keeping the heels pointing forward. So it's a bit of a sort of half moon shape in our foot. Very nice. And then we'll draw that foot back. I'm going to turn myself the other way so we can see what we're doing on the other side now. Beautiful. So the left foot is going to now move underneath our chair. So let's see if we can just sort of shift our weight to the right so that we can tuck the toes under, coming to rest on the top of the foot. So the toes are tucked underneath rather than we're on the tippity toes. My chair leg's kind of blocking it, but you'll see what I mean is we're coming to rest on the tops of the foot. So this can be quite a big stretch for the tops of our feet. And so just notice if there is some tension there and see if you can use the breath to bring a little bit more softness around those areas of tension. Also, we can think about, again, drawing in with that breath to bring some of that tension away from those areas and move it into that biotensegrity where we're balancing out some of the tension. Then from here, we're going to bring the arms up over our head. Beautiful. We're going to hold on to that left wrist and find a little lateral flexion over towards the right side. Once again, you can drape your arm. You don't even have to hold on if you feel like that's too much. But just see if we can find a softening, really gluing down through that left bum cheek, that left glute. So the range of motion doesn't have to be all that much to feel quite a big stretch from this. Good. If you notice that you're rounding forward, just see if you can lift up through the sternum, through the heart a little bit more. We'll take one more breath here. And then release the arms into that cactus shape with the arms. Beautiful. Find a little circle here. A little roll of the shoulder blades. Good. So feeling the connection here of our heart on the front of our body and our spine and shoulder blades in the back of our body. Well done. Very nice. Big breath. And then we exhale. We can release the hands. We'll release the foot and bring that foot out in front of us if it wasn't already there. Just going to back up a little so we can all see. And again, can we bring a little bit of that dowel shape to our foot? So we're reaching a little bit through the toes and through the heel, a little bit of a half crescent moon shape in the foot. And then just a little windshield wipering side to side. Good. Rooting down through the sit bones and the foot, lifting through the crown. Big breath in. Nicely done. And then we'll bring that foot back. And I'm going to turn myself back around to the front. You can give your knees a little windshield wipering if they would like it, if they need it. Beautiful work. And then sitting up here again in our seat, readjusting, re-establishing your connection to the earth, to the floor. Let's bring our hands into Anjali Mudra. That's our prayer pose of our hands. And with your thumbs, bring your thumbs right over that center of your sternum, kind of like over your heart a little bit. And then we're going to just gently, very gently tug down. So there's a little bit of tension that occurs as we press the palms together and tug down using the thumbs on the sternum. If this downward energy doesn't feel quite as good, you might lift up. You might actually lift those little fascial lines upwards, but I prefer downward motion. Good. Can we lift the chin, lift the heart gently? Take a nice big breath in. Maybe out, bringing that attention to the heart. We're doing a little bit of a stretch of the myofascial lines around the heart here. Nice. And then release the hands to your knees and find a big roll of the shoulders. Beautiful work. We're going to get a little bit into the spine now. So if you haven't moved off of the back of your chair yet, now would be a lovely time. Maybe you're feeling a bit warmer. And so we're going to start with a gentle cat and cow before we add on to that. Hands come to our knees. Draw the shoulder blades back and lift through the chin. So that's a little bit of a back arch here as we push the heart forward. And then we're going to find the opposite motion, rounding through the shoulders. Good. Flexing through the spine, tucking the chin in. This is our cat pose. Let's do a couple more just like that. Inhaling, finding extension through the spine, lifting through the crown of the head. Exhale, rounding, rooting down through the tailbone. One more. Big breath in. And exhale, rounding. Good. And then let's bring it back to center so we can add a little bit more of a flowing motion to that now. So hands are on our knees. This time we're going to take a little dive through the knees. So we kind of dive with the nose coming forward, not too far, just a little bit of a dive and then a scoop upwards. Good. Tuck the elbows in nice and close and draw the shoulders away from the ears. Good. Lifting through the chin. This is like a little baby cobra pose. And then from here, we're going to push back, extending through the arms, rounding through the spine. Good. Coming into a bit of a modified child's pose. All right. Here we go again. Moving through that little flow. So diving forward, scooping up. Beautiful. Holding here. Now, while we're here, can you notice that the low belly, the upper belly, and the pubic bone are still lifting in this pose? So we're still experiencing that lifting sensation of the low belly. And then as we exhale, pushing ourselves backwards. Good. Noticing that widening across the pelvis. Rooting down through the tailbone. Beautiful. One more time. Inhale, lifting up spaciousness through the front body and through the back body. And then exhale, we're going to continue to find that spacious quality through the back, but also across the front body. Beautiful. And then come on back to center. Big roll of the shoulders. We might start to grow that movement a little bit more now. Good. Starting to extend a little bit more into the rest of our arms. So as we start to grow through the arms and legs, let's think about maintaining that integrity in the belly as well. So breath to draw in through the low ribs. Good, beautiful. Just to help bring again a little bit more of that soft, effortless effort into this pose. Good. With our arms up ahead of us, up above us, let's turn to the right. And we're going to just let the hands float down. So the left hand crosses over. The right hand just gently floats to our side and come into a little bit of a twist here. Good. Rooting down through the feet, lifting through the crown. Find your breath. Well done. And then we'll come into the other side. So we'll float those arms back up. Lots of softness through the elbows and shoulders, turning to the left side, and then let the hands float down to your left. Good. Anywhere is fine, but Generally, the right arm might cross over to the left knee and the left arm can just sort of float at your side. Find your breath. Beautiful work. Let's inhale, bringing the arms back up overhead. Palms come together. And then we exhale, hands to our heart. Well done. Beautiful. Can we do 2 more just because it feels so nice? So think about rooting down, lifting up, inhale, exhale with a little bit of tension at the hands, down at our heart. One more time. Big inhale up. Exhale, floating hands down to our heart. Pause for a moment. Check in with yourself here. How are you doing? How are you feeling? Good. We've done a little bit of a mix up of our pose sequence for today. So sometimes that can feel like a lot for the brain, a lot for the nervous system as we kind of move through areas that are a little bit less familiar. And so I just want to give you this reminder right now that you are safe. Even place your hand over your heart. And we'll just remind ourselves that I am safe and I am in control. So you are welcome to take breaks whenever you need to. You are welcome to soften or do less whenever you need to. Good. One more big breath here. Big exhale, and then releasing the arms to our sides. Nicely done. Hands to our knees. Beautiful. We're going to move through a few sun salutations just to get some of our prana moving a little bit more through our body. So feet coming back to the floor, just a little check-in again that they haven't inched back too far or inched out to the side. Can we bring the feet into about hip width apart? Ankles resting under the knees. Good. And then as we root down, think about lifting energy up through the crown of our head. We're going to reach our arms out in front of us and lean forward, picking up our beach balls. Inhale to lift our beach ball up as high up as feels good. Wonderful. Exhale, drop the elbows to your sides, nice and close, tucking them in real close and really spread through the fingers. Push the heart forward, lift through the chin. Cobra pose. Beautiful. Let's inhale, opening the arms wide beside us or as wide as you can with the room you've got. And then we're going to wrap ourselves up in that big hug, breathing out. Good. Just stay here for a moment. A little moment of comfort, a little pause. You can pat yourself on the back or rub your arm, or maybe just a little rock or a sway. Good, wonderful. Let's do that again. Notice the hand that's on top. As we inhale, we'll open the arms wide. As we exhale, we'll change the top arm this time. So bring the other arm on top and give yourself that lovely, comforting hug. You might rock, you might sway, you might just be still. Beautiful. Let's inhale, opening arms out wide. Exhale, bring everything together at center, interlacing the fingers. Pop out those index fingers. Beautiful. And then draw in with that shh breath, lifting the arms up. Soft through the shoulders. See if we can widen across the collarbones a little bit more. Good. And then we'll tip over to one side. So you might notice that when we root down a lot through both hip bones, see if you notice your hip coming up, let's lock it down, and then we might not go quite as far, and that's okay. Let's inhale up, lock down that right hip, and tip over to the left a little bit. Beautiful. Inhale, lift. Exhale, releasing the arms down to the knees. Nice, everyone. Tuck the elbows in again. Lift up through the crown, and we're going to hinge forward. So we're hinging with a nice straight back. Good. The bend coming right from that hip crease. We can stay here for forward fold, or we can drop down to elbows perhaps, holding on to our forearms. And exhale. Feel the pelvis very heavy. Feel the sit bones nice and heavy. Feel the feet heavy, rooting down evenly through all the toes and the arches. And then from this place, we could start to release the head and the neck a little bit more. Give your head a little shake, a little gentle nod forward and back. Beautiful. A nice big breath in. And then as we exhale, bring the hands to the knees and reverse that hinge. So come all the way back up in a nice straight line rather than rolling up. That puts a little bit extra pressure on the vertebrae sometimes that we might not need. Circling the arms up as we breathe in. Exhale, pressing the hands down to your heart. Well done. Let's go again. So we're reaching for our beach balls in front of us. Good. Rooting down, rooting to rise, lifting beach balls up. Inhale. Good. Exhale, drop the elbows close to the sides, nice and close. Spread through the fingers, lift through the sternum, through the heart. Notice that little back bend that comes in. Good. Look up, perhaps, if it feels comfortable. Beautiful. And then we're going to inhale, opening the arms out nice and wide, big stretch across the front line. And then exhale, coming in for that hug. Feel the back body coming in here. Let's do that again. Inhale, opening out wide. Exhale, changing the top arm, coming in for another hug. Beautiful. And then one more time. Inhale, opening out nice and wide. Exhale, everything back together at our center. Pop out those index fingers as you interlace the other fingers. Root down through the sit bones. Draw the low ribs down. And lift from that position. Softening. Let the shoulder blades, the shoulders sort of hang heavily in their sockets. So we might get a lot of bend in the elbows this way. Good. And then from here, we're going to lock the left sit bone down as we hinge over. Inhale up, lock the right down and hinge over to the other side. Inhale up, exhale to release hands to our knees and come into that forward fold again. So pressing the feet down, tucking the elbows, reaching through the crown, and then let the heart and the crown lead the way as you bend forward. Good. Resting right here if it feels comfortable, or coming all the way down to the elbows, holding onto the forearms. From here, we might start to round a little bit more through the spine. So just being aware though, if rounding through the spine in this forward folding motion is too much pressure, too much pull on the spine, then you might just choose to sort of lift yourself up and use the muscles to stabilize your back a little bit more. So just choosing and going with what feels best in your body. Take a nice big breath in. And then just let that breath ripple through the body, feeling that rooting down, apana energy, downward flow. Starting to notice a softening coming in a little bit more to the face, into the jaw and the teeth, the cheeks. Good. And when you are ready, we can bring our hands back to our knees, starting to slowly come up in that nice straight line. Beautiful. We come up nice and slow just to avoid any dizziness, and then circle the arms up as we inhale. Exhale, press the hands down to your heart. Let's do that 2 more times. We might add in a ha breath, that heart connection. Inhale. Ha. One more time. Big breath in. Maybe we look up at the hands and ha, looking down towards the hands. Pause and check in here for a moment. Your hands may stay in our prayer, or you might find a little bit more connection, hand over the heart and the belly. Check in with yourself. Just get really familiar and comfortable with the messages that your body is giving you here. Wonderful. All right, beautiful. Let's release the hands now and find a big roll of the shoulders. We're going to come to a bit of the low body here now. So finding our way to that right knee. And then if you need to shift forward in your chair for a bit more space, you can. Somehow we seem to always find our way back in our chair. So we might just need to readjust there. So then you can lift and lower. Good. That knee up towards the chest. Beautiful. Just a couple times there, lifting and lowering down. Beautiful. And then we're going to lift that knee up and make little circles here. So we might just switch to one hand. That might just feel a little bit more comfortable. Or if you prefer to keep both hands on your knee, you can do that too and just make nice circles here, warming up that hip joint. Good. And then we'll change the direction of our hip circles. So bringing them inwards, a little internal rotation through the hips. Beautiful. Let's take that foot and slide it out in front of us. Now I think you still can see me, but I'm going to just move back slightly just to make sure my foot stays there on the camera. So in this position, let's find again that little dowel foot. So the toes are reaching forward, and so is the heel. So it creates a little bit of a roundedness through our arch. We can just sort of soften the knee this way. Good. From here, we're going to draw that knee in towards our chest or in towards our belly, and then reach it back out. We can touch down. We can just keep a softness. We don't need to come up too far, but we're just going to continue to draw the knee in close and reach it out and away. Now I'm going to show you one more option here that might feel comfortable if there's a lot of strain happening in this hip flexor. You might bring your hands behind your head and create a little bit of a hammock so that the head feels really heavy in your hands, like you're really holding your head up. And then also we might engage a little bit more through the low belly, gathering into center. From here, see if that changes the sensation as we lift the knee and reach that foot out in front of us. Good. So it might just take away a little bit of that effort in some of the hip joint. Good. We're going to do two more. Big breath in. Last one. Well done. And then let the foot rest heavily on the floor. Release the hands. Good. Keep a softness again to the foot. So we're not very rigid with the foot, but just a little bit of a softness. Sit up nice and tall, like we've got a string pulling us up, and we'll start to walk the hands forward, coming into a half leg forward fold. So we can find our way into a resting position, resting on our elbows or resting on our hands. And just let the back body release the back of the leg as well too, that into the hamstring, maybe into the calf a little bit. Good. Big breath in. Big heavy breath out. Feeling the sit bones, those bony parts of our glutes, of our bottom, just soften and widen. Good. And then when you're ready to come up, we'll bring the hands back to our knees. We might come up all the way straight, or we might just find a little bit of a walking motion up the legs. Good. Beautiful. We're going to do one more movement with that same leg, but we can slide it in and then cross the ankle over top of the left ankle, letting the right knee hang open to the side. So we're coming into a little figure 4 pigeon pose now. Second option for you, if you've got lots of space in the hips and lots of ease in the hips, is to bring that knee up and cross the legs. I know some of us prefer this position, but there's a lot more going on in the hip here. So you don't have to come here. I find this quite comfortable, so I'm going to come into this pose today. But your other option is ankle on top of ankle. So wherever you are, let's press down through the left foot, nice and firm and rooted through the left foot, right knee hanging up to the side. And then find that softness. Good. Find the soft dowel foot. Beautiful. Even noticing the roundness of the fingers as they just rest in a relaxed state. We might even wiggle the fingers and the toes a little bit. That just helps to kind of release some of the tension or holding in patterns in the body. One final option for you to take a big breath in and then exhale, hinging slightly forward. So just bringing the chest and the sternum forward, hovering a little bit over your lap. And then go ahead and take a few ha breaths, sinking your chi, your energy, your prana here. Our ability to sync our energy or sync our chi is very much connected to our ability to feel safe and quiet and calm the nervous system. So bringing in some of these breathing practices is especially beneficial for us to just bring ourselves, tether ourselves into our bodies. Good. Let's come out whenever we are ready to do so. If you want to stay another breath, go ahead. And then we'll slowly move out of the pose, releasing the ankles. Give your knees a little sway side to side. And then we're going to go ahead and do all of that on the other side. So let's remember our movements for the second side. But first, just notice. Notice how the two sides of the body feel here. Beautiful work. We're going to go ahead and add that movement to the second side. So rooting down through the right foot. The left foot is going to come forward. A little bit of that dowel or crescent moon shape to the toes and the heel. Good. And then once again, think about rooting through the sit bones, drawing in through the low belly and the low ribs. And then we can go ahead and either add the hands already, if that was helpful, as that little hammock, or we can leave the hands out if that wasn't particularly helpful for you. And then we're drawing the knee up into towards the body and let the heel come down to the floor. If you're noticing any kind of popping or kind of grindiness, that can happen, and we don't want that to happen. So if that's going on for you, stop and just readjust your rooting down, and then maybe just go a little bit lower on that side, a little smaller range of motion. So you might just bring the foot in rather than lifting the whole knee. Good. Breath in, breath out. And let's do that 2 more times. Let the head be nice and heavy in the hands. Good. And then release the foot, release the hands, and we'll get that windshield wiper motion again. Just moving left and right a little bit. Beautiful. And then we can bring the foot back in towards the body. Hold on behind the left knee and find a little bit of a circular motion, external rotation through the hips. So moving towards the outside wall. Good. And then change the direction, internal rotation. Good work. And then let the foot come to the floor. We're going to bring that foot, that same foot, left foot, cross the ankles, cross the ankle over the right ankle, and let the left knee. That's why it's nice to be a little bit forward in our chair if we're able to move forward in our chair, just to create a little bit more space for the knee to fall out to the side. Second option, if you'd like it, is to bring that foot up onto the knee or cross the legs. Begin with your base. So we think foot on the floor, sit bones in the chair, rooting down, lifting through the crown. We might even feel the energy lifting up out the top of our head or out the ears sometimes is a nice visual. Find your breath. Let the prana or the chi energy begin to sink here. So let the energy sink down into the earth. And one final option, if you'd like, is to find a little hinge forward, particularly if your legs are crossed. This might feel a little bit extra special. Any twinginess in the knee we do not want. So please protect your knee. If there's any twinging, you can again soften, adjust. These poses don't have to look any particular way. More importantly is I'm offering you options for how to bring sensation into the body. Perhaps this is the muscle group that we're working with. But more importantly is that you have a sense of autonomy over yourself, your movements, your body, and that you are able to keep your nervous system regulated. And on that, keeping our nervous system regulated helps us to live with a more open heart, seeing others as ourselves, seeing ourselves in others, recognizing that we're nothing without our communities, without each other. Big breath in, big breath out. And then when you're ready, you can come all the way up, let that leg slide down and give the knees a little bit of a sway side to side. We might even find just a little bit of a clamshell-like position here, feet coming together, opening and closing the knees, a little bit of a butterfly flapping. Very nice, everyone. Take any last movements that you feel would be helpful. And then we'll find our way all the way back into our final relaxation. Letting the feet slide out perhaps in front of you. Palms can be up or palms can be down, just depending on what kind of energy you're working with today. And you're welcome to close your eyes and focus on that beautiful diaphragmatic breath, if you wish. As you breathe in, expansiveness coming in across the chest, through the whole body, and then exhale to gather that energy back together at center. Good. Taking a few more breaths in this diaphragmatic breath. And then you can continue with that breath, or you can let it go and start to soften and drift. And as we rest today in our Shavasana, I just want to repeat the loving kindness meditation. while we rest. The first message is for you. I'll use the words may I, and you're welcome to follow along or say them along with me in your mind silently. So thinking about yourself, may I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be peaceful. May I be safe. Now bring to mind someone important to you, someone close to you, someone that you know who you want to pass this message of loving kindness along to. Bring that person to your mind and we'll say our blessing with the words, may you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be peaceful. May you be safe. And now let's bring our worldview out that much more. And think about the whole world, the whole planet, all of the people who live here on this planet Earth, the animals, nature all around us. And we'll send this message out to all of those beings. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be peaceful. May you be safe. Beginning to bring your attention and your awareness back into your body, back to your breath. You can begin wiggling your fingers again, wiggling your toes. And then from here, growing your movements, maybe stretching, maybe yawning. And then we'll bring ourselves back up to our seated position, hands resting at our heart. And then let's rub our palms together, closing our practice today with a little moment of gratitude, as we do. When you've got that warmth between the palms, you can place your hands over your eyes. And we pause here to say thank you. Thank you to our earth, this land that we live on, play on, work on, and share. Thank you to our community of family and friends and all of the helpers around us, and also to the ancestors and teachers who came before us. And thank you to ourselves. Thank you to yourself for honoring your needs today and for making this time for your practice. And finally, let's bring our hands back together at our hearts. We can bow to each other. Thank you to each of you for sharing your energy today and your time. The light in me honors the light in you. And I wish you so much peace in the rest of your day. Thank you so much. Wish you all well, and we'll see each other again soon.